What is up, Bucs fans? We are back. It's Real Bucs Talk here, live on a Monday. The offseason has been rolling through, especially here in Tampa Bay. I am back from vacation. I was out last week in Oregon. It was a bunch of fun. Mark might still be joining us. I'm not sure on that, but we do have a special guest, and that is my good friend, Ken Barrett. It's always good to talk with you. How are you doing on this Monday evening as the Buccaneers just continue to make the right moves, it seems like?
Hey, other teams are making weird and interesting moves. Looking at you, the Saints. The Bucs pay off their credit card bills, and I'm liking the way that the roster's looking pre-draft. So many, quality signings that we're going to talk about today.
Right.
Re-signings, new additions to at least fill out the depth of this roster. I think it's a good time to be a Bucs fan and be excited for. No matter how you feel about Baker Mayfield, I mean, you can't say everything else around him isn't looking pretty good either.
hmm Yeah, absolutely. Just starting with getting, and we'll talk about this in depth, but just getting the key pieces back that we talked about. It was I guess you could call it the Fab Five if you want to include Chase McLaughlin. Obviously, he was a big part last year, and it's nice to have him back. But, you get Mike Evans back. Obviously, that is huge. You see him here on the screen, Buck for life. So that is a great move to start off with. And then following that up with Baker Mayfield, and then continue on to, you franchise tag Antoine Winfield, but it looks like he's probably going to get a long-term deal at some point. Then getting Levante David back and Chase McLaughlin. So right there, that's a win for the Buccaneers right away. And you just look at their depth chart. I mean, and we'll talk some of these other guys that they've added, some of the offensive linemen, but yeah, I mean, it's good to have your key pieces back. So just your thoughts on that so far.
No, I mean, from we even have the return of certain individuals from the Super Bowl winning team there as well. But
Right.
just speaking about the Fab Five, I thought it was just great contracts across the board. Levante even got I think a nice little raise. I think he was a little underpaid last year, so it was nice to see him with us being in decent cap position to be able to give him the extra million or two in addition to what he made last year.
Right.
Minus a couple of pieces, which I think are going to be filled pretty early in the draft. I mean, this roster, I think, from a starting perspective, is pretty set, and I think we just got to fill in some depth. But I think we're off to a good start.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you said it there. The key word is depth, and I think that's huge, especially with the other additions, and we'll talk about them. Obviously getting the offensive lineman and Ben Bredesen, and then also Sua Opeta. I think both of those guys, they offer experience, but they also offer just quality depth. They don't have to be your starter per se, but they can also push guys. Maybe, whenever you do take a rookie offensive lineman, they can help you out as far as, just pushing that player to be better. And I think that's huge. But one name that I really want to dive into, and I think we're all excited to have him back. He was a name that most of us were pushing for to get signed by the Buccaneers and bring on back, and that is Jordan Whitehead. And I'll bring him up here on the screen. Just having this man back, I think says a lot about how much I think they missed him when he left, because he is the perfect fit for Todd Bowles and his defense. And the range that he's shown in New York, now adding that to his arsenal, I think is going to make the defense even better, because now you have a consistent guy back there. They kind of took a chance on Ryan Neal. They thought maybe he would work out, but obviously it didn't. And now you get a guy in Whitehead who, you drafted and feel very confident in that he can be a very capable player next to Winfield.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of basically alluded it there. Is he was missed and he fills in a very necessary role where we saw after he left. I mean, obviously, the biggest strength that he brings is being able to be in the box, being able to hit hard. That's what he was known for during his time in Tampa, especially at the very end when Antoine came in and was the perfect complement to his skill set. Um, but we filled in guys with like Logan Ryan. We moved Antoine down. We were doing so many things, and it was just like trying to fit those square pegs into round holes. Antoine obviously is great, but what really wound up happening was Antoine really didn't have a consistent running mate since Whitehead. And I think it was well documented that Whitehead thought he could do more in the Bucs system, even when we won the Super Bowl. And the year prior, year after, he was basically not like pigeonholed, but he'd get pulled off the field for Mike Edwards, who was a ball back. Like, don't get me wrong. And when he left, I don't know if it was tweeted or was in an interview, Whitehead was basically just like, hey, like, I wanted to do more. And at the Jets, they offered him that opportunity. And what did he do? He got 5 or 6 picks, which is a necessary skill set for him to be able to provide value, because you can't be a hard-hitting safety for your whole career. Ask Deshaun Golston.
Yeah.
That's how that works out. You have to be a little bit more diverse. And I think Jordan Whitehead, I'm someone who, when he was drafted, I was super high on him. I thought he played better in his first 2 years before fans started saying he, stunk. And then he got Antoine, and then it was just like, okay, his play skyrocketed. But Whitehead, I think, just brings a lot of stability to that back end of the secondary. I can't even describe how bad Ryan Neal was on our defense. Liability. I think people say Devin White was a liability, and I think in many ways he is in terms of just his pass coverage. He does have a skill set that he can offer. Ryan Neal didn't offer anything except for as a sub linebacker. We had to fill in like one game because of injuries. That was the best he played the entire season. So having Whitehead back there is just like, okay, we know what Antoine's providing. Now we know what Whitehead can provide. And then, you're losing Carlton, but that also gives some stability for Zion to know that he can trust if there's Whitehead playing deep behind him. That he can trust his assignment, because I think when the Bucs defense is at their worst is when they're not playing assignment sound football. And Devin White was one of those pieces. Ryan Neal was one of those pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at the Bucs defense last year, I think there was some there were some parts of it where you just couldn't trust that player next to you. And, Ryan Neal and Devin White were definitely two of those guys. They just couldn't be consistent or counted on to a degree. And that's why they ended up going to the sideline and getting replaced by KJ Britt and also D Delaney and Zion McCollum at times at safety. So I think it's exciting just to have the pair back together as far as Whitehead, and you just know what he's going to bring. Also being an older player now at only age 27, I say old, but he's still pretty young. And he's just more experienced now. And I think he will bring just a leadership. And also, both of him and Winfield will really control the defense back there in the back end. And that's going to be really exciting to see. And also help our linebackers out as well, because now they can play a little bit more aggressive because they know, the guys behind them are going to clean things up. Like, it's just, and I think that's the theme I've seen with both of the other additions they've made in the secondary. We can talk about as far as Tavier Thomas. I think that's how you pronounce his name. And then also Bryce.
Better than I could have.
And then also Bryce Hall from the Jets as well. I like what they bring from a tackling standpoint. And I think that's huge, especially in run defense, not afraid to get their noses dirty and get in there and make consistent plays. And then also just solid football players. So I think that is something to be commended on Jason Light's behalf, and also just their plan. It seems like everything is falling into place. And you could say the same with the offensive lineman that brought in. You, as a former offensive lineman, just what's your thoughts on those two guys that they did bring in? I know some of them, the guy from the Eagles, obviously less playing time because he's behind quality starters. The guy for the Giants obviously played a bunch at different spots everywhere. I know one of my sources, I think it's Jordan, I forget his last name, but he's a New York beat writer. And he said he's better at guard than playing anywhere else. So
way to reveal your sources.
Yeah.
No, I mean, from these two offensive linemen, I think, Ben Bredesen brings a little bit more, experience to the table, as you were saying. But I think what's also important to remember, and I think we're not going to probably talk too much about Ryan Jensen much more, and as time goes by.
Right.
But people forget Ryan Jensen, 5 years to develop in the Ravens system before he kind of breaks out and becomes a high-priced free agent that the Bucs pick up. BA was a huge proponent on these offensive linemen take 4 or 5 years. And hats off to Jason for hitting on all these small school guys on day 2.
Right.
But other than Wirfs and Winfield were basically the only 2 needs on that 2019-2020, offseason. We haven't really seen Light or BA or even Bowles really go attack those like young linemen, except for when Jason finds that value is essentially where that is. But they're not like, hey, I want this. And I know we're probably going to talk more about the draft, like, this first round guard just doesn't really seem like, their cup of tea and what they want. And Aaron Stinney's a guy who came in 2020 in that playoff run and was like, oh God, kind of like what happened, right? Shaq Barrett came into this organization in 2019 with little to no expectations. And that's just, I'm trying to give you like 2 real, between Shaq and Ryan, kind of what, taking the chance on that guy who never really had that opportunity, how great that can be. And then you also have Ryan Neal. Ryan Neal had a pretty good 2022, 2023 with the Seahawks. Seemed like a good guy to bring in as a depth piece. It didn't work out. So you have the 2 ranges of the spectrum here. We say in the draft, if you have more bodies, like more draft picks, you're going to have better possibilities of hitting, right? And that's what Jason's doing. Okay, I'm taking 2 guys at the inside offensive lineman position. We're going to let them battle it out, maybe with a rookie. Maybe it's just those 2. We're going to let the draft take care of itself. Okay, cornerback 3. We brought in 2 quality guys. One can maybe go with Izzy in the slot to challenge him. One can be more outside corner. Like, let's just throw bodies in there and let the competition really, play out. And specifically with those offensive linemen, I think they're good fits for what we do. I mean, they're not going to be, Ali Marpets here. And I think people just got to keep that in perspective. You want 5 guys in the offensive line, and you can't have, Wirfs at left tackle and Quentin Nelson and like you can't, Jason Kelsey at center. You can't allocate those types of resources across the board. So like what you have here is you have a day 2 pick in Robert Hainsey. You have a day 2 pick in Luke Gadecki. You have a day 2 pick in Cody Mock. You have a day 1 pick with Tristan Wirfs. So it's just like they have resources that they've allocated here. And this time last year, you and Josh are the only 2 people on planet Earth that were talking about Luke Gadecki and his rise to prominence there. And by week 1, he was shutting down Danielle Hunter and calling, Aiden Hutchinson. Like, don't get me wrong, he's a good player, but that Danielle Hunter guy blows him out of the water. And he holds Aiden Hutchinson complete out because people forget that playoff sack that Hutchinson got was a blitz on a hot read where there was no one to block Hutchinson. That wasn't on Gadecki. That wasn't on Wirfs. That was an isolated sack based on a blitz. So again, from these offensive linemen, I think they're just quality guys that are going to provide some quality competition, whether it's amongst them or if it's a rookie thrown in there too.
Yeah, no, I think you're on it. I really like the depth they talked about. And, you talked about corner, and I want to transition there because the Buccaneers did trade Carlton Davis to Detroit Lions for a 3rd round pick, which was shocking. They gave up a 6th round pick of their own. They had 2 6s already, but they gave up a 6 for, I think, this year and then another 6 next year. Correct. But getting back another top 100 pick, I think, is just huge on the fact that now it offers we'll get into this in a little bit, but it just gives you that option to be aggressive if you need to trade up and go get somebody. It also gives you the option to continue to trade back if you want to stack up even more picks, or even move up in different rounds, whether that's the 3rd round moving up or if that's the 2nd round moving up. So just a lot of flexibility. But let's just talk about Carlton Davis. I think it was writing on the wall that he was probably going to be, moved at some point, whether it's this year or next year. But obviously with the contract, the injury situation, the not playing in a lot of man coverage that he would like, because the Buccaneers were predominantly a zone coverage team, and rightfully so, with the lack of pressure up front with four. So I think obviously Bulls talked about that as well. He wants to improve that pass rush, and we'll get into that too. But just your thoughts on Carlton Davis and what does this move mean going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's bittersweet. I think
Mhm.
Carlton provided this organization a lot of good moments. Yes, he did have, no offense to you, CD3, but some bricks for hands. It just kind of
Yeah.
is what it is. I was watching some 2020 highlights the other day. I didn't realize how many interceptions he had in 2020, but that puts him
Mm.
to, or at least memorable interceptions, because I
Right.
can't really tell you in the past couple of years. I can't tell you, you know, a Carlton Davis pick, when it happened, who was against, was it a
Mm.
big moment, was it a blowout? Like I just couldn't tell you. But everyone else in the secondary, it's kind of, other than Ryan Neal, I could probably pick out a good moment there for you. I think just taking a look at the Houston Texans game, obviously in those types of situations, Bulls wants to play zone. You can hate Bulls for it, but the matter of the fact is, in situations, but then also throughout the game, he's playing a
Mm.
lot more zone than what we did in 2020. Um, you know, so from that perspective, Carlton Davis isn't the greatest fit for what that was, and we saw the highs of what Jamel Dean and Zion McCollum could do together on the outside. And Dean provides you more, turnover opportunities. And also CD3 got hurt. So the past couple of years. So
Yeah.
our pal Gene says best of ability is availability.
Mm.
But also, I mean, with two high priced corners, like it was just like, okay, if you're not going to play man and you already have a guy who can come in and play zone on the back end, great, you can save some money. But what was Jamel Dean and Carlton Davis, a day two pick? So
Yeah.
whether Jason wants to double dip or he wants to move up, or again, that flexibility is super valuable for Light. So from that
Mm.
perspective, I think if you're just taking it on the surface level, Light got his replacement for CD3, and I think that's a fantastic move from a cost savings perspective and also a team building perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And just I think they felt, with Zion, the way he played last year, his ability to, I think, play better in zone coverage with his ability to click and close a little bit better. I think they're gonna try to encourage him to be more aggressive than he was last season. But you could just see his play starting to come around, and they feel his upside is definitely there, and they wanted to get him on the field more because he earned it. But now you bringing in, a Bryce Hall who I think will challenge him really well. I think that's awesome. It also doesn't force you to go out and draft a corner early. You can let that position fall to you, just like offensive line can fall to you. Really, when you look at it, the main position that I think they will try to be aggressive for, and if certain guys are available, is going to be that pass rusher that I think a lot of us Bucs fans are expecting them to go and find or try to add. Now, again, it's hard to add a star pass rusher. Like they just don't grow on trees. But the good news with this draft and the way it's set up, the way the quarterbacks are, the receiver class, the offensive tackles, which I would love to hear your thoughts on because I know you're a former offense tackle and obviously you've been pushing for OT3 for a while for this team.
Well, depth
Yeah.
OT3.
Yeah,
Depth.
exactly.
Like what, not like necessarily what we've done at guard in like day two, but like give me a day, a round three, round four. Let's develop a guy. But
Mhm.
this was also pre Lukadecky though as well.
Right, right.
So
Yeah.
like from that perspective, we had Donnie on the left. I was like, okay, Donnie's Donnie. Donnie can't do this forever. I didn't think Tristan would flip. I
Right.
also didn't think Luka Decky would go from left guard to right tackle. Like
Yeah.
there was a lot that went on there. But yeah, for years, whether it was with DeMar Dotson on the right
Right.
side next to Smith, and then Donovan Smith himself was just like, hey, let's at least like develop a guy. Like, I used to coach a kid named Nick Petit Ferrer.
Mhm.
His most notorious thing right now is he got suspended for gambling, for the Tennessee Titans. But he was a day three pick. He, had tape against, Hutchinson and The other Michigan Wolverine edge who was pretty good that had the knee issues going into the draft. I forgot his name off the top of my head. But other than that one game, he had a really good season. He was touted to be a first overall pick, had that really bad Michigan game. He played Ohio State. It was just like someone like that. Okay, round one talent falls to round three. Like, take a guy like that. But, I can't question Light. He found Luke Gadecki. That worked out. At this point, I would say it would be day 3. Like,
right.
But you also don't want to draft Caleb Beninock here as well, because he was a tackle in college that they converted, and we know how that worked out. So, Jason, if he just wants to, bank on the health of Wirfs and Gadecki, great. I just think we have so many quality bodies especially going into last year, so many quality bodies at the inside offensive line position. I just think, hey, like throw a body out there just to develop. Like, could you imagine if, you're a rookie and you have zero expectation and you're sitting behind Wirfs? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
A guy who was thrown in day one and expected to be, great. No one expected how great he'd be, but he could give you those tips of like, hey, this is what I did my rookie year, and you don't have any pressure. Like, I think that's just valuable because you never know who you can find. I think offensive tackle is very much not necessarily like a running back, but like a wide receiver, in that you can get those really good values.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's
that's
going back to my point. You look at the top of the draft with quarterbacks, receivers, offensive tackles, and then you also have cornerbacks. So you have premium positions there that are going to go fast and early. And guess what that does? That drops certain players, and hopefully a pass rusher comes available within striking distance or a interior offensive lineman.
Hey, that's where that extra third, man. You can go up to 20, like absolutely. If you really need it. Like,
and with that said, let me bring in our co-host. He's made it, the myth, the legend, Mark Ramirez. Mark, welcome back. It's so good to see you, my friend, because, man, it's been a while since we talked Buccaneer football. I went away on you, and I apologize for that, but I had a great time. You need to get out to Oregon. You need to get out to Oregon.
Mark's like, you should have stayed, man. I could have ran the ship.
Hey, yeah, it's not the same without him. I'll say that.
No, thank you. But it's good to have you in. So we're talking about just the depth of this draft that can really push pass rusher. And I think if a certain couple of names, speaking of Jared Verse or Latu, like fall to maybe around 19-20 area, maybe the Buccaneers can move up and go get one of those guys.
Yeah, I don't know what this is. I don't know how that's possible, because it's truly like 3 really good edge rushers that are like
Dallas Turner,
right?
Yeah.
How the hell could one of those fall to us? I don't know. The only one I can see is the UCLA guy, just because of injury risks, right? But he's the most polished one. He has.
Did you see he had a ridiculous workout apparently at his pro day, is what everyone was saying. So I just think as time goes on, he's going to be off the board, at least in the middle of the first round.
Yeah, good to see all y'all. Yes, it's the new guy. Hey, it's been busy over here too. I've been trying to. Plus tells me get a video out. I'm like, damn it, Plus, I'm trying.
Wait till Plus has a baby, then he can come and have a convo there.
Yeah, it's a couple things. That is just life, sheds. Yeah, I have too many damn things I'm juggling. But I'm happy to be here right now. Ken, good to see you. Didn't say hello yet, but how are you?
Good.
Yeah, I saw your comment about our reaction during the draft. Right?
Oh yeah.
So I had to go back.
You watched it?
Literally in the other room. I was putting him to bed. I was like, damn, did I?
You guys were both just stunned, and that's because I'm going to be honest. I didn't think we would go defensive tackle. You guys dove into the film. I really didn't watch Kansas. I just heard, okay, baby Donald, ironically just retired, but that's just all I really knew about the kid. I didn't really dive until after he got drafted, but it was just you two were just holy, they did it.
Yeah, about damn time. Right? Because we fully gave up. We're like, they ain't gonna draft a damn defensive tackle. Oh, there real. We're back. I was like, we're not going to draft a defensive tackle. They just keep passing and passing. Like the undersized guy just never comes here. Like the mold was Todd Bowles, big, ugly, stop the run. And we were pounding our head on it. Like, no, they ain't going to do it. They did it finally about damn time. But, yeah, I mean, but like he was asking about an edge rusher getting to us. I just don't see it. I mean, I know crazier things have happened. I think it's more likely Brock Bowers could fall to us than a defensive end. And that's, I don't know, like crazier things have happened, but I just don't think those three with the abilities that they have. I mean, the top two just measurable wise, right?
Yeah.
And Latu is just, I don't know how you can let a guy that had that much of a breakout year and is actually showing polish and measurables and everything else you want fall. But hey, like you guys are probably mentioning the offensive linemen, the wide receivers, the quarterback.
I mean, you look at the teams in front of you. I think there's a strong possibility that one of them are there at 19 with the Los Angeles Rams pick. And the Rams have needs at other positions as well, especially offensive tackle that could get prioritized. And they just lost Aaron Donald. I don't know if that automatically means they pick a defensive tackle to replace him. That's probably kind of hard for that rookie to step into those shoes. Plus, they already have Kobe Turner, who was really good, 9 sacks last year. But I just feel like if you get to that spot at 19 or 20 and there's Jared Verse or Latu available, you got to look at potentially moving up. Even if they get past 19, I think there's a great chance they fall right to 26 because you look at all the teams in front of us, guess what they need? They need offensive line.
Well, and that's why that Oregon center that everyone wants, I just don't think he's going to last. I think someone's like, not the Ravens, obviously, because they did it with Linderbaum, but someone's going to go, okay, that value's too good. I'm just going to take him.
Yeah, his clock starts at 16 with Seattle. I think that's where you look, and then you got Jacksonville.
They're the team to make that pick. Like that's just them.
Yeah,
we're going to take the centers. We're going to take the running backs. We're going to take the strong safeties. That's us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
first round, right?
But yeah, I mean, just looking at the teams, I think there's a real shot, and especially with Latu because of his injury history. Medical concerns always push players down. It's always something that they look at it as a very high concern, and that could benefit a team that's willing to take the chance on a guy that's had tremendous production in 2 years at UCLA. And I think that is someone that could definitely be a possibility. And then Jared Verse as well, because like I said, just these other positions, cornerbacks, receivers, there's going to be a lot of receivers in the first round, probably 6 or 7 of them.
I would anticipate another wide receiver like you always saw with the AJ Brown thing, where it's like you trade your top receiver and then you immediately draft a receiver too. So I feel like that's going to be on the table there as well for a couple teams.
I mean, yeah, because speaking of receiver, I like this actual comment here. If I can get my mouse, where the hell is it?
There it went away.
Right?
Too many screens.
Right? People saying absolutely no wide receiver round 1. I don't agree. This is an amazing year for wide receiver. We need space. Godwin might be cut next off season. So something Plus was talking about, I believe, way back when, because it feels like it's been forever since we have had a live stream. Yeah, like
a month ago.
Right? When it's not week in, week out kind of thing, it's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's a good point here though. I mean, Godwin, there's no 100% that he's back next year, even though it looks like every time we bring back our own, right? I mean, he has injury concerns, even though he's a very consistent player when he's not hurt, right? Do those injuries take a toll? Do they see us moving a different way? And then with a loaded wide receiver class, I say one of these good guys do fall to us. Do we take a chance, right? It's right now they're in a position where there's no need mainly. I mean, because Plus and I were talking about it earlier, like the second round is like almost a home run shot for Jason Light. And what do we always get in the second round? It's almost like a guard or an offensive lineman or someone.
Yeah.
That's our main area that we need. I mean, why the hell even do it in the first round unless you have a guy that just falls in your lap? Your first round's a luxury. It's almost like a best player available thing. And one of these guys do fall. Why even run away from it? Take it, right? And if it's a receiver, who the hell knows? I mean, then you have a loaded roster where, okay, Baker may not be the upper echelon type of quarterback everyone wants, But if you throw enough weapons around and make it easier, no one can double cover anyone. Look the hell out, right? That's what the Super Bowl season was. You had a damn Hall of Famer almost all over the field. We're not going to say we're drafting. I'm just saying you're getting weapons. They're easier to dispose of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it makes sense on the surface though too, because we've talked about the contract perspective. Mike just re-signed. Godwin is going to be up soon. You have Palmer on a rookie deal, and that's basically it because everyone else is UDFA or David Moore or whatever. Like, you know, you're not expecting to be on a roster in 3 years, so it's like okay, like there is that opportunity. I don't think it necessarily should be the pick, just because. I think wide receiver is just a position you can hit in so many areas. And I think if the right edge, like I had a question for you two, just to really just go back to edge real quick, like Chop and Braylon Trice, like from your boat's perspective, let's say the top 3 are off the board. Are those 2 players that you would consider at 26?
I think I've looked at Chop Robinson. I've seen his game. I think he's got a boatload of potential, but he is the ultimate boomer bust pick, unfortunately, because he doesn't have the production to back up the superior athleticism, the quick first step, the dip and rip moves that he has. Like he does have some moves to work with. It's just, can he put it into a consistent effort, game or down in, down out pretty much. Now I think at 26, I don't know. But again, you can't have enough pass rushers, and he definitely has the tools that you can work with. His arm length is a little suspect, a little shorter than you would like, but he has good size and good footwork, and as far as movement skills, he's got it. Braylon Trice, I really haven't watched much on yet.
He's a UW guy, so that's why.
Yeah,
JTS might be on his way out, but we know that's our type.
Yeah,
for on Bumble, it's like, okay, UW, defense, okay, swipe,
right?
Yeah, definitely.
Buda Baker, that's my issue. Why don't we get him?
Right,
we had him, but it is what it is.
But
yeah, jumping off what Plus said about Chop, like I see a lot of like Vic Beasley vibes, but without the production he had.
That's actually a really good comp. I like that.
So an extreme athlete, but he didn't really like. If you look at the games he excelled in, it wasn't against the top of top tackles,
competition.
Right? But when you do see the good, you're like, holy hell, this guy's
it's good. The good is really good. So I would say for both of them, I think would be second rounders.
So if they did the Logan Hall, you'd like trade back, you'd be okay with that.
I would be fine if they traded back, got some extra picks, and you add him as it would be another project that you're working on, but the upside is definitely there, and they have tools to work with. It's just, can they get the most out of them?
Fair. We can hop back to wide receiver. I was just curious because I just don't think it's realistic for the top 3 to at least make it to 26. If we move up, that's fine. Like that, then it would be for 1. I just don't think it's realistic to have any of the real top 3 make it.
I agree with you. I mean, so you kept mentioning pick 19. Is that like, what would be the cost to move up to that though? Like a third? Just our 1/3 we acquired?
Probably.
Third and maybe some sprinkle, if that.
Yeah. Maybe another 6 rounder. I don't know. But I mean, I think
if it's the right guy, I mean, you traded a 4th to move up 1 spot for Wirfs. Like, if it's for the right guy, I'm cool.
It's worth it.
It's worth it.
Yeah, 1 pick was so we're talking 7 picks, right? I mean, that's going to be at least a third, I would think.
Yeah, it depends on what the team you're trading to is giving up, as far as what they truly want. And again, Rams, I think Al made the point that in the comments that they could need edge as well, and obviously so. I mean,
I think the Rams just need so much though. Like, people forget. Like you mentioned, plus the couple good defensive rookies that they had last year. I just worry what happens, the Aaron Donald effect.
Yeah.
We saw how many players Aaron Donald got paid. Von Miller probably being the only exception. But pretty much everyone else, I forgot the FSU kid's name who was in Atlanta for a wee bit after that paid him. Not Vic Beasley. That's why he's on my mind. I forgot his name.
It's okay.
No, but like that, I mean, that's what Aaron Donald does is he gets people paid. And now their whole defense was predicated on, Jalen Ramsey and then Aaron Donald, where basically you just build everything around that. Jalen leaves and it's like just Donald. Well, now you take out Donald and it's just like there's all these UDFAs, day 3 picks because they haven't had day 1 or 2 picks. It's been all day 3 picks just scattered everywhere. And then obviously hit on like Nakua on offense. It's just like they could literally do anything, go everywhere. I think they value having a lot of picks in a draft probably at this point. So like I think they would be a good suitor. But I also think other teams might want to move up, whether it be for a quarterback or again, I just think they're going to be a popular trade spot that will be probably for more than just edge. And we saw with even the worst deal, Light was like, I was trying to go up to 7 to Jacksonville. I was trying to go up to 9 with the Giants. I was trying to do all these trades. They're just like, no. And that's just, sometimes the reality.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, look at what Al said. Like, I don't think Cansey was anywhere near as boom or bust as Chop. Like, Cansey actually had production. Like, multiple 2 years in a row of consistent where they're doubling and triple teaming this guy, and he still put up numbers. That's why I was like, the comparison, I mean, it sucks when you always say, oh, he's the next Aaron Donald. You can't do that to anyone. Right? It's almost like the same thing of like, oh, he's the next Tom Brady. You can't do it.
We saw it with Gerald. I mean, Gerald and Sapp weren't necessarily the same players, but you saw that he still talks about it to this day. That was the expectation.
Yeah. But that was my thing. Like Cansey still put up numbers left and right.
Limited too. He didn't have an off season.
Yeah. So you can't compare Chop to Cansey. Cansey did everything he needed to prove. It was just his measurables. Chop
just his height, really.
Yeah, like Chop's the only thing is no production. Like you want to see it being done consistently. You see he has an amazing get off, but then once that get off doesn't really win, it's not really many counters. And you hope NFL coaching can develop that, but it's like, show me what you can do too, right? I mean, you can't all assume it's going to be like Chandler Parsons or Micah Parsons. I don't know why I had
thinking of Chandler Jones.
Yeah, you just have a freak athlete and just give him our offensive line or outside linebackers coach, who was Micah Parsons' outside linebacker coach. Maybe, I guess people are hoping that, but I mean, I don't know if it's in this situation. Like I don't know if I would take him at 26. I would take him at a trade down, but wilder things have happened, right?
Trayvon was number 1. So Trayvon Walker. So I mean, over Hutchinson of all things, if you want to talk about 1, 2.
That's Jacksonville. Well, that's not Jason Light.
Well, that's bulky. That's just not even Jacksonville. That's bulky. He's got that history. But I just mean you can't be trying to find the next Danielle Hunter or the names that you mentioned. It's just like those guys are just freaks, and I think also situation has a lot to do with that too. And they're also never year 1 with crazy numbers there as well. It's just like, hey, they developed, they turned the athleticism, learned the skill sets needed, moves, they learned, how to set up their tackles. And it was just like, okay, like it all works out. But you can't just bank on pure athleticism, even at the edge position, because, hey, this is the NFL, man. Those tackles are crazy, man.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think that's why like Latu and Verse and then also Dallas Turner, I think, are more coveted because again, they have athleticism, but also they know how to use that athleticism in a way that helps them win more consistently. I would say more so Verse and Latu than over Turner, even though Turner is starting to come on there at Alabama. But you can just see how multiple those two I talked about, they know how to win consistently, whether it's power or speed. And that's what makes them very unique. And it's a great point that you guys made that most likely they're not going to be there, so other positions probably fall to the Buccaneers. I think that's why a lot of mock drafts and, websites have the Buccaneers taking an offensive lineman, mainly Graham Barton out of Duke, who I think would be a very solid pick. I mean, that guy, very good player. We have a film study of him up on the channel, and he just knows how to be nasty, knows how to play with good level. And then also, the big talk has been JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson, who I just was in his hometown in Oregon, and man, beautiful
what
campus.
A plug. Look, we got to mix Mark Cook. Did you know
that? Beautiful campus, by the way. He had it made there. He also had, I found out that he had a burger made after him at one of the places. I think it's Elkhorn Brewery. Did not get a chance to visit, unfortunately, but seems like it was a tasty burger with mac and cheese on it. But
I think Plush should write this guy's biography if he makes it.
Oh man, if he's a Buccaneer,
Plus will write it for him.
Yeah, if he's a Buccaneer, I definitely I'll be his biggest fan. But yeah, I mean, just looking at those positions, and then I guess full circle back to receiver because
the PFF had their little mock draft today, and they had us take in receiver. I haven't even studied yet, so I know
Xavier Worthy, and and that goes to the point of the offense, though. We're going to see a lot more 11 personnel under Liam Cohen, so you're going to need receivers. You want a guy that can come in and push Trey Palmer. Also, maybe a replacement for Chris Godwin if you don't sign him back. So I think there's options for receiver, but I'm with you guys. I think you can definitely wait day 2 or day 3 to get a receiver. I'm big fans of Ricky Pearsall and Malachi Corley. I think those guys would be great depth. Xavier Leggett from South Carolina. So there's a bunch.
Lad McConkey in the first round.
Lad McConkey, yeah. I mean, Lad is a good prospect, man. I would not be against that. But after a trade down, I don't know if I would take him at 26. But yeah, I think all those guys are good.
Receivers coach, so
that's why I made the joke.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, it all makes sense.
No, but that was the thing is the PFF's thing was they're just like, okay, just take the speed guy. It's high upside. And I'm just like, when does that strategy really ever work out for teams if you just take the speed guy? Give me Godwin's. Like, give me Mike Evans has had the speed, especially when he was younger, but he's 6'5". Like, what does 6'1", 4'4" really do for you? Like,
right.
In the
Javon Baker out of UCF. That's another guy.
Oh, I love that guy.
Good sleeper.
He good.
Yep.
But he's not going to be round 1.
No, not at all.
That's what I mean. So, like,
I mean, because Godwin was a 3rd round pick, right? So, I mean, again, you don't necessarily.
That was the draft if we'd switched him and the safety who wound up playing for the Saints a couple of years.
Yeah, Justin Evans.
Justin Evans. Excuse me.
Yep.
Like that was just okay. If you flipped them, I'd be okay. But I don't know how Godwin after that Rose Bowl game went to round 3. That Rose Bowl game was
like 200 yards. I think 3 touchdowns, maybe.
It was him and Darnold were just like stars. Like that was the first time I'd even heard of Godwin's name was that game, and I fell in love, and I just didn't think we were going to draft him, and then somehow he slipped.
And he had great numbers too, like not just like production wise, but like his athleticism. Like I think he ran almost a 4.43. It was like 4.41. It was low.
Yeah, it was low 4.4s.
So like I was like, geez, like how does that fall? And I mean, I know this Xavier Worthy guy ran a 4.21, breaks records. Okay. That is a weapon. Okay. But
that's also in tracks like gear. That's not with pads. That's not with, let's just say, Richard Sherman jamming you at the line of scrimmage. That's not with a safety, 20 yards downfield. Like the speed does play. Yeah. But I'm just saying it's just you got to have the right things around him. And if they win receiver round 1 for the speed, great. They just better use it. Yeah. That's all I'd say.
I mean, I'll just say it would be creativity fun. I mean, if you really want it, right? Like, I mean, because if you think about it, like the amount that Mike Evans does get doubled, right? Because that's another thing. Like, so if Mike Evans does leave and Godwin gets all that, do we get anywhere near as much production? Because Mike Evans does show in all the damn time. Like, and he knows he's getting double covered or a linebacker shading. So sometimes like tripled. So like, if he's getting that much damn attention, you got a guy that can. That's why I'm like, Trey Palmer is not that far off. You got a 10th off. Like, does that really matter? He's like 6'1". So, I mean, I don't know. I don't necessarily think we need a receiver, but would it be a luxury where if you're like, holy crap, let's just see what we can do? And is it worthy? We see him coming into the future, like developing into something, not just a trickery speed guy. You can't do that in the first round. You just can't. Even though
I think
eliminate angles quickly. Like
I think Worthy is a legitimate option in round 1 because his tape is backing it up. Like he can win underneath, he can win in different ways. Like he knows how to get off the line of scrimmage quickly. Obviously, he can win downfield. He can be an after yards after the catch guy. He's shown that ability in college. So I think he would be worthy of a first round pick. Pun. But yeah, I mean, he definitely has backed himself up, with the numbers. I mean, look at it there, 75 catches.
See, that's what scares me, what you just highlighted.
Yep.
That's the only thing that scares me.
Yeah, I mean, he came in at the combine 165. So yeah, again, on the very skinny side.
But that is production every year, though. That is
he's 12 been consistent. He has had some issues with the drops, but he also was playing with a broken hand, I learned. So, figuring that out, playing through toughness, showing toughness, I should say, is a good thing. So I think he definitely should be in consideration if the Buccaneers are looking at a receiver. And he would add a great dynamic to this offense that they don't currently have. And that's a guy that can make things happen in space and make things happen after the catch. But speaking of attention, because Mark, you said attention as far as Mike Evans, guys, you guys are showing us attention by being here because we have over 200 people. So thank you so much. You guys missed us, obviously, and we missed you because it's been a while since we've been able to talk about this team. So do us a favor, hit that like button and show us the love that you guys are showing us currently because we're very thankful for it. And we know we have a lot of work to do, a lot of things to catch up on, and a lot of things to put out for you guys. So we're going to do our best to make that happen as we get closer to the draft, which is only, I think, less than 40 days away, which is pretty awesome.
Speaking of which, thank you for saying that plus, because I'm going to mark my calendar as out of office for that Friday.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And guys, absolutely. So, and with that said, we are going to be live again for the draft this year. We're going to do 2 days this year. So we're going to make it special. We're going to do round 1 like we did last year. And then also we're going to do day 2, which covers rounds 2 and 3. So that'll be a lot of fun. We might have Mark on for both. Who knows? Maybe. But we'll definitely try to get him on there for the round 1 pick. Hopefully we make a pick and we don't have a Logan Hall situation, but who knows?
Yeah, at least we had the first pick the next day,
right?
That was fun.
It was, but wish it was on a different player. But again, that's a whole nother topic. But I think the Buccaneers are in a great spot, and this offseason I think has been really smart. We're gonna have a video out tomorrow just talking about the depth that they're building, and Ken and I, we spoke on it as far as just adding good players that don't necessarily have to be starters for your team, but have potential to start if need be. And that's what you're looking for when it comes to depth.
And they keep doing it. So here's my thing. So the 2 biggest needs, I know we've been talking a lot of offensive things and edge rusher. The 2 biggest needs for me personally going into the offseason was, yes, your left guard, center, whatever you're going to do with that situation, interior line, and then your strong safety. So you just brought in Jordan Whitehead. Perfect addition there. You've added so much more depth to the cornerback room. I know you lost Carlton Davis because you traded him, gained a third. But you've brought in so much more competition. I think they're realizing so many damn injuries every damn year. Let's bring in a lot more competition and depth in that room and let the iron sharpen iron. Let's see what happens. But do you continue to build through that? Like, where do you see? Do you think these guys that have been brought in are just bodies, or do you think they're truly competitive guys that could make the roster? And do you see like a potential future pick at a corner pick? Like, as everyone's penciling in Zion McCollum at the other corner position, do you see a corner being a position? Do you see like a definitive like star linebacker type safety, like you can actually put in there that's a transition in between Jordan Whitehead and Antoine Winfield Jr. Like, because it's kind of confusing to me. Like, are they going to just truly run Whitehead and Winfield genuinely? Even because, like, if you look at the numbers, Whitehead got so much better in pass coverage the 2 years he left us, right?
Yeah.
So, do they let that just go, or are they going to like nitpick like they did with Mike Edwards and him taking time away? That's my thing. I want him just to stay. That's my 2 cents. But what do you think moving forward? What's going to happen?
I think if they play a lot of zone, I think they can easily both stay. I also don't think there is a Mike Edwards to really do that. I mean, D. Delaney flashed. Like, don't get me wrong, but it was also, would D. Delaney have been a crazy need to be on the field last year if Ryan Neal wasn't playing so poorly? Which, unless Whitehead gets hurt, I'm not really concerned. So from that perspective, I think from what I know, I'm not going to be an expert on Tavir Thomas and Bryce Hall and Ben Bredesen and Sua Opeta. You're not going to get much film like on these guys, but from what I have done in a very small amount of research, it really seems like those 2 offensive linemen are going to be Aaron Stinney plus.
Yeah.
Like, if you need them to start, great. Like, you can get by for a year. If you are going to bring in, like, let's say a rookie, like a round 2, round 3 guy, I think they can compete. One of the corners can compete with Izzy at the slot. Izzy played amazing, but we also know sometimes, he's listed as a safety, but really he's a nickel. Cornerback play varies year to year, even for the elite guys. So it's just like, okay, I think some competition's good. I think Bryce Hall will just pencil in probably at cornerback 3 probably with like a rookie, probably back there with him just to compete and be cornerback 4 on the roster. That's just where I see these additions. I mean, other than Whitehead, which is obviously the big one, but the rest of these additions outside of who we re-signed, I think they're just real depth pieces more than anything. Like, hey, if the right guard was there, we would still take one in round 1. Okay, if we went edge round 1, round 2, we could do guard, we could do corner, we could do maybe another. Like, I don't think they would do safety at this point. I think safety is probably off the board. But maybe if they really liked a middle linebacker on day 2, like, you know what I mean? Like, that could spark some interest. But again, I think it just gives them some flexibility, and I think they're good bodies. But I don't think anyone should really expect, especially the offensive linemen, to come in and be penciled in as left guard day 1, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think both of those guys are more capable than an Aaron Stinney or a Matt Filer. I think they have more to their game than those 2, but not by much. They're average at best, but that's all you need. I think at left guard or center, especially with the guys that you have around them, you're expecting Tristan Wirfs to take a further step, which is amazing to say. Like, he's probably going to be even better than he was last year. And then Cody Mock taking that jump, Luke Gedeke taking that jump as well. So those are your key guys. Obviously, if you can get an upgrade over Robert Hainsey, awesome. But it's not the end of the world if he's your starting center yet again for 2024. And if anything, if Hainsey's game falls off, you have a guy to go to in Bredesen to play center and give him a shot. Same thing with Opeta. If your starting left guard, who might be a rookie, is not panning out, you have someone to fall back on. So that's what I think they are. They're fallback options in case something doesn't work or doesn't pan out the way you want to. But it sets you up beautifully, like Ken said, to take one of these guys on day 2, which is a Jason Light special. I think they're really looking hard at Mason McCormick out of South Dakota State. I think that's Jason Light's guy. Like, he makes sense at left guard.
Is he missing any teeth plus?
He might. Did
he transfer from a Division 3 out of nowhere? Because if so, he's a Buck.
Is he going to burn immediately the second the sun sees him?
Yeah. Did he play wide receiver coming out of high school and then transition to tight end and then transition to tackle and then is going to play guard in the NFL? Because that's I'm Better Call Saul, but I'm Jason Light because I'm your guy.
I love Jason Light so much.
Yeah,
Bro,
but I think
his Twitter game. Plus, please tell me you saw his Twitter game while you were gone.
his Twitter game was outstanding.
Oh my god!
Especially
He did a sponsored tweet.
breaking the news
Breaking
of
his
John
own signing.
Wolford. So he's
I forgot if it was Schefter or Rapp, but he was like, according to my sources.
oh
Right?
yeah, yep.
The
Yeah,
source is me.
I think it was Schefter because he's been on Schefter's podcast. So, yeah, I mean, Jason Light's he's living on cloud 9 right now. He's doing a great job with this offseason. Can't wait to see what their strategy is going into this draft. But, I guess I don't know what other we want to transition to, but maybe getting back to edge. I mean, just looking at our edge group right now, and Mark and I have talked about this off air.
Real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is for Jeremy.
Oh, okay. Way to go, Jeremy. Way to be committed.
Whoa.
You deserve that right there. You deserve every one of those woos. Now, plus, continue with you.
No, I was just, talking about edge because I know it's a lot of concern with the, Bucs fans out there, especially looking at, yes, you have one piece that is uprising in Yaya Diaby. Obviously, you have Kalijah Cansey, who, you both expect them to take steps forward. You hope Vita Vea can take even more steps as he continues to get better as a pass rusher. And then you look at the other part of the edge group, Anthony, Nelson, you have JTS still, and then Marquise Watts and Jose Ramirez. Now, Jason Light did talk about them during the combine. So is that saying something about those two guys? Do you think they're going to lean on these guys more and to have opportunities to improve the pass rush as a whole? Is there a chance that the Buccaneers don't add anything at edge going into this offseason, like throughout the offseason?
You can take it, Ken. You go first.
For me, I would probably say if you're leaning on JTS to make that step everyone's been waiting for the past 3 years, or leaning on Yaya Diaby to play out of his mind like he did the second half really of last season. And if you're leaning on Anthony Nelson to come in and provide 4 or 5 plus sacks from a secondary like role there, filling in every now and then for injuries or just getting some snaps. Bowles likes to rotate. If you're leaning on that strategy, I don't think that's going to be a very comfortable chair because I consider it like, hey, if you have legs of a chair for the edge position, you want more of those legs in there to keep you stable. I just don't think those are 3 very strong legs personally. Yaya, I think, just offers the most upside. We all can probably agree to that. Mm-hmm. But Yaya is the guy now. Like, there's tape on him. We know about year 2 regression for rookies. It's like, I just don't think he should be like, hey, he's the star here because, the 2 guys inside are going to command a lot of attention. We already know that. I'm not saying go find the next Shaq Barrett, but, if there's a person in free agency that you can sign for $3-4 million, like, I don't know if we want to talk about any of those names. Like, it's just like, hey, can someone come in, be some veteran experience? Those 3 guys are pretty young. So from that perspective, I would say, hey, like it wouldn't hurt to get a veteran, or you can draft someone kind of early that has that upside. Like, maybe he's probably not starting day 1 of training camp, but maybe halfway through the season has that, breakout that we saw out of Yaya. Like, that's just kind of where I'm at there. I think they do need at least one body significant enough in a veteran or a first or second round draft pick. That's my personal opinion, though.
Yeah. I kind of lean that way too. But Mark, I'll let you expand.
Yeah. So my thing is, whenever Jason Light speaks, I listen. So if he's mentioning guys like Marquise Watts and Jose Ramirez individually, like the tackles are telling you we're getting our ass kicked in practice, like week in, week out. Like, this is what's happening because they're just really good pass rushers. Okay, it's great. And you want to see that come to fruition. You saw Marquise Watts in very limited amount of snaps, and he flashed almost every damn time he was on there. But you got to learn how to stop the run too. I guess one big thing Todd Bowles likes very much so, right? Mm-hmm. So that's how you're going to be consistently on this field if you can run the whole entire defense. Like, that's why I like Christian Izien so much, because he runs the whole defense how it should. He stays in his scheme proper. And some of these line or defensive linemen that want to just get after the quarterback, you leave your gap, you're shit out of luck. You're making someone else look stupid. Devin White did that a lot. That's why he's not on the team right now. So my thing is, has Marquise Watts learned that? Will he transition to get better? But Jason Light, as smart as he is, I guarantee you he's not going to go into the season without adding something, right? Whether it is a veteran, just to say, okay, if these guys don't get to the level I think they can, at least I can fall back on this guy. I know he can play the scheme. He can stop the run. He can get those run fits so the whole team doesn't look like shit because they're trying to shade towards one side, right? Does that mean that we could potentially trade up, like your scenario you were talking about earlier in the live stream? Possibly, if they fall to there. But like we were saying, I don't think they do. I mean, it's just you're talking 3 edge rushers in a league where it's either you can pass the ball or you can get to the pass thrower, right? And those edge guys get it. In that same fashion, I think we just think so much of interior pressure, A-gap blitzes, that it's just let me just get a guy that can stop the run well as a defensive end. And if we get a supplement of pass rush, okay, great. But I think it's more you're relying so much on Kalijah Cansey and Vita Vea to wreak havoc. And then the edge rushers are just something, right? So I don't know how much they're going to value to draft really high, but I think there will be a more veteran type of guy that does come in. I don't know if one of those guys does fall, I can see them trading up, but one of them, they're not going to just take a defensive end just because the room isn't filled enough with high quality potential guys, right? Like I think it has to be a good fit. If it's not, let's just get a veteran that can fill the role.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I think, obviously if they can't get one of those names we mentioned in round 1, I think there's a possibility if they do like certain guys in round 2 or round 3, they could definitely take one. Marcus Nealon comes to mind. I really like his game. I think, Isaac, the other Penn State edge rusher, is good. You look at Chris Braswell from Alabama. So there's options there to be had. But again, once you get into round 2, those guys might go quick because, again, the premium positions are going to be hit on early in round 1, especially at the other positions that we talked about: quarterback, receiver, offensive tackle, and then you have cornerback as well. So it'll be very interesting to see how they prioritize the edge rusher and how they go after it. I personally feel I'm like 80% confident that one of those guys are going to be within range. I just feel really good about it. Just looking over the teams, looking over the positions, I just feel like one of those guys are going to make it within striking distance. Now, do the Buccaneers go make that move? Remains to be seen. But with that said, the Buccaneers are in a great spot because of Jason Light and company. I really like what they've done with the roster, and it feels really good to be a Bucs fan right now. And it makes you feel proud because they are running the team the right way. And we'll hear more about that in tomorrow's video, talking about depth and how close this team really is to competing for another championship. So I think they're right on the cusp of that. So it's really exciting. And man, we have a lot of people in here, so can't thank you enough for all the support.
Yeah, here's a question that I want to bring up. I don't know if you brought this up earlier when I wasn't here. So offensive line, everyone wants the interior lineman, and the big name going to ground, Graham Barton, right? Transitioning from a tackle to guard. We saw the transition from Luke Gedeke to tackle to guard. Didn't look well. Put him back at tackle. Looks good. Looks pretty damn good, actually. His second year in the league. Everyone's just penciling in Graham Barton. Oh yeah, left guard. Boom. Easy. Transition easy. We didn't see that so soon, right? But you saw guys like Ali Marpet, Trishan Wirfs. They can just move around. They're phenomenal athletes. They're upper echelon type of guys. I don't know if we're just thinking pencil in a guy because he can move so creatively. Oh, we'll just pencil him in left guard. He'll fit. Well, how do you both feel about that? Because I don't know how everyone, like a lot of other, I guess, Bucks Foundation people that cover us like us, pencil him in immediately. Like how do you feel about that? All right, it's going to be an easy transition. Just pencil him in left guard.
I'm on record saying how hard the transition was for Tristan Wirfs to right tackle to left tackle. And I didn't necessarily agree with the move. I'm just going to be honest. I was like, Tristan could probably do it. Because I think he'd be as elite as he was. Granted, he was injured this year, which I think contributed to a couple not bad games, but less than what he would want or expect from a performance standpoint. I think this whole talk that you're talking about, Mark, is a rather just, I feel like, new draft trend. I feel like 10 years ago, no one was really talking about this. And I think that's why tackles are so especially rare, is because they're looking at all of these college offensive linemen where, the scheme is basically allowing them to only have to block for 2 seconds before the ball comes out. They're not really developing, or even a lot of them necessarily don't even have the size necessary. You hear that all the time. A guy comes into the NFL, needs a year in the weight room and eating, just even, Gadecki is a large ass human being. And that was basically what was said about him, from his going into his rookie year. So that's, to me, it's a lot of arm length discussion. I say it's also a size, discrepancy in terms of what we're getting, and talent discrepancy of what we're getting in the NCAA right now going into the NFL. That's why I think when you have a really good tackle, they're like quarterback. They're going early. And I know Plus and I before we kind of touched on the subject, because my big thing is I've always wanted a development tackle just kind of on the roster, just to, hey, if Wirfs goes down, it'd be nice to not have insert nobody, left tackle come in, like someone that's developed for a year or two. The reality of the situation is, like with Graham Barton, you can't just say that he's just going to come in and transition to guard within a year and it's just going to work out, because we've been lucky. Ali Marpet, we've been lucky with the dude who went to the Bengals, Alex Kappa. We've been lucky so far with Cody Mock. Like, that's fantastic, but that's also not the norm. I think a lot of teams do it. They say it. But I think there's just not been that much success with it. But it's just like, hey, we have this big or very talented guy, but something's not right, so we can just kick him inside. That's like something Daniel Jeremiah would say, or Mel Kiper, because it kind of makes me look smart. You know what I mean? But a lot of those kids don't even go to that position until pre-draft combine stuff. So, like, it's not even been in their DNA yet. And I would just say that, yes, I think it's easy to say that, and I think Graham Barton could make the transition. But if you're going to do that with your pick, I just don't think that you can just pencil them in day one and just say that, because they're going to have their trials. And it's different going from blocking a 220-pound edge in college to a 340-pound gigantic human being that's an immovable object like a Vita Vea. You just can't do that in 3 months training. So I just think, like, hey, there's guys that can do it, but I just think that's just draft talk where this guy's arm length, like we saw with Luke Gadecki. Luke Gadecki, the whole talk with him was, hey, big, strong guy, just his arms are too small, kick him inside, you're good. And White still believes that he can be a good left guard, or right guard even. He still thinks that. I just think that's just a size and just draft lingo that I think is just a trendy thing to say, but sorry to get off my soapbox. Yeah, I just don't. I'm not a big fan of it. If you can't tell, that's why I've been skeptical of those picks.
No, that's rightfully so. I will just say the difference with Graham Barton versus a Alex Kappa or even a Cody Mock is Graham Barton is already NFL ready made as far as a body standpoint.
I've stood next to him. I can confirm he's a big body. He's girthy. I went to the Duke, so I got to be next to, because I walked around the sidelines, got to literally be within 5 feet of both him and Alt. They're going to be good to go. You don't have to worry about them being in a weight room.
So Graham Barton is already, like, he's got that body as far as an interior offensive lineman, if that's where you're going to put him. He has experience playing center. I think he did have some experience playing guard as well during his time in college. So the guy can play anywhere across the line. I understand the transition is difficult, and yes, there is going to be trial and errors. There's going to be adversity with that transition, no doubt about it. But I think he is a very good athlete. He's very athletic. He's very smart. He's got very strong hands, big hands at that. So I think he is already has a step ahead of, say, Cody Mock or a Alex Kappa, where those guys needed to develop their body and add strength. And that's what the hope is for Cody Mock going into this offseason, that he works out with Tristan Wirfs and Luke Gedeke daily and gets on that beef that we want to see him have. But Grant Barton already has that. He has the weight in the bottom half of his body, especially in the butt region. He carries the
Yes.
he's got the stuff in the trunk. Yeah.
But he's also a Duke brain though too. That's encouraging as well. I think just when you have that type, I'm not saying he's a football IQ. I think we know there's a difference between book smart and street smart here. And we see it with the Wonder League with the quarterbacks every year. I think it's good to have that level of intelligence though, because hey, like it's not going to be easy. It's mental. Going to a school like Duke, going to a school like Notre Dame, going to an Ivy League, like that's pretty intimidating even for smart people. So I think that's going to help Graham long term.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Especially when talking NFL prospects all day.
It's like Mike Mayock right there. Different mics. No, but I mean, how your body, just physics wise, if you're top heavy, it's not going to be easy to withstand a 300, like you were saying, 40-pound defensive lineman pushing you over.
It's different.
You're going to topple over.
The technique is you literally, if you're getting bull rushed, like let's say by a Vita Vea, your technique is to pop your legs back.
Yeah.
And that takes all your strength is coming from your lower half. Like your upper half is just there for the ride. And it's just there to be able to have the grip strength to really hold on as an offensive lineman. That's why that's because that's the biggest thing is a lot of these guys, especially linemen, they're benching, 20, 30 reps in the 225, but you put them on a squat rack. You have to have the flexibility at that size. A lot of them don't, or they're developing it while they're in college. You have to have the ability to have the sustain. Like it's difference between holding 500 pounds and squatting 500 pounds. And so like being able to anchor that, control a moving body, that's not easy. And it takes a lot of strength. That's why the BA's philosophy is, hey, I don't even want to draft an offensive lineman. Let someone else develop them. I'll get them in year 5 or 6.
You got paid off for that. I mean, Jason Light is done well, though.
I think Light is also the exception of this rule.
I mean, he was an offensive lineman, right?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So he has experience there.
So I mean, I think he's just understanding. Okay, if I can get an athletic guy that is smart
and nasty,
gritty, nasty, like they can become something. I mean, I know Chad Forbes keeps putting this stuff on Twitter about JPJ. I mean, I like him a lot. Yes, the center for Oregon. Plus, do your research. Bring him in. Do your sell pitch when you went over there. Hopefully, you did it. Let's see. I mean, I wouldn't mind it at all. And it doesn't necessarily mean he takes over at center. He could plug in at guard. He played guard at Oregon, but I mean, that is an area where I'm just like, I don't see the plug and play a tackle playing guard immediately. We've been getting lucky. And clearly it didn't work with Luke Gedeke, but it worked when we put him back where he was supposed to be. So how many times are you going to attempt something that you're not really, especially in the first round? I don't see him doing something like that.
These players are snowflakes. Like again, it's these players are going to be exceptions of the rule that can do that. I mean, what does it take? How many hours? How many thousands of hours does it really take to master something? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you're doing it against the best of the best for your first 100 trials, you're going to fail. It's how you deal with that. It's like being a college or high school baseball player that's so good, you get drafted in, let's say, the first round. You go to, rookie ball, and there's, 18-year-olds from the Dominican Republic that have these fastballs that go to 100. They have these sliders that you've never seen before. It's all about dealing with failure with these guys. And I think we just saw, hey, Alex Kappa had the ability to do it. Ali Marpet had the ability to do it. And so far, Cody Mock has the ability to do it. I just don't think other teams can replicate that formula, just as like we can't replicate other organizations when it comes to drafting a running back. I think just each GM is going to have their strengths.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the good point about what Mark is talking about as far as, picking the right guy, especially offensive line in round one, that's the great thing about this offensive line class. There's depth at interior offensive line, and they can definitely wait till round 2, round 3. You can get guys like Christian Haynes out of UConn. You can get a Christian Mahogany out of Boston College that could instantly start and already have guard experience. Cooper BB, I don't know if he's a scheme fit, but he's another guy that has a bunch of experience and could be a plug and play person, a player. And then there's a bunch of names I could list off, but Mason McCormick, I think he's probably automatic. If he's somewhere in the Buccaneers range, I think he's already a Buccaneer. So there is a lot of things to work with. And I think that's the best thing to be happy about with this Buccaneers team right now, because they can go in multiple directions and any one of them could be a very good move for the team and really have an impact for this upcoming season. So really excited about that. I think it's been a terrific start, probably the most news we've had as far as Buccaneers, offseason goes so far, especially this early, especially in week 1 of free agency. And it kind of reminds me a lot of 2020 offseason. Now, we're not adding the caliber of players that we added that offseason, obviously with Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, but just the type of moves that they're making, and that is adding depth and adding guys that can build this roster and make it better. I think that is the key thing, and we're going to see that as a theme going out throughout this offseason.
Hey, before we move on to anything else, Krillin saying Ken's dog scared the shit out of him. Same, like I thought. If you remember the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze and Whoopi Goldberg, remember those how the shadows turned into like it was a ghost coming to take your soul. I thought that was what was happening. I'm like, oh my god.
What happened? Because my dog's not even in the room, so that's why I'm like, what happened?
It was a black shadow to your right, I guess.
Oh, really?
Other side. Never mind. My right, your left.
Oh, I didn't even notice him come in here.
Yes.
Yes.
I was like, holy shit, he's getting taken to the afterlife right now. Like, Swayze, help him now.
I can't. I'm gonna watch that on replay. What is this? An hour and 17 in. I'm gonna look at that.
I completely missed that. So great detail by Mark.
I heard my dog getting water like 5 minutes ago, and that's what I was like, okay, he's still in the other room.
Like, yeah. So I'm feeling his. I was like, oh my god, back out. Like, but
yeah.
I'll clip it and I'll post it on Twitter. We'll see if it's good for anyone else.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just looked awkward. But yeah, I mean, we touched a lot. Let me just make I know I missed the early part, but yes, the Bucs are making all the right moves. I think it's fantastic to bring all your own guys back, to keep the continuity, to keep the room. Even Baker said it about even bringing back our QB coach, Thad Lewis, like keeping that unity of him knowing what I like to pass that on over to Liam Nielsen. Liam Cohen. There it is.
Yeah,
there
you go.
Pass over to Liam Cohen and just adapt that to their offense. Like moving what I already do well. QB coach already knows it. Tell it to the offensive coordinator, run these plays, and then add on top of that. Right. So I love the offensive continuity there. Defensively, I mean, you got rid of what I think was the biggest liability in the middle of your defense with Devin White. Good. Go. I mean, best of luck. Hopefully you continue to grow in your game. Never wish bad on anyone, but just what we saw for 5 years here, it just wasn't it. So let's move forward. KJ Britt in middle linebacker. If not, draft plus his favorite, Peyton Wilson, sometime in this draft, right?
Well, you can also learn something in free agency too. Right? We talked about it. Linebacker year 5, year 6. Those guys come out of nowhere and do pretty solid.
Because my thing in the Bulls defense, the middle linebacker, you just do your run fits, get your A-gap blitzes, which they're setting up for you, and then just run sideline to sideline. Just don't be a liability. Like you're not paid to be the best player in the field. You're paid just to fill your gap. You're not
And
going
you
to
can get a shit ton of tackle numbers
Yeah.
just by being in that scheme. You have Vita Vea in front of you. You should be unimpeded to the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And we saw that with KJ Britt last year. I mean, he had games where he had over 10 plus tackles. So more than
little
capable
experience though too. That's the thing. That's someone who's that we talk like in MLB. You talk about the replacement player. Like if you were to get the AAA equivalent when we were talking about like WAR and whatnot. Like that's literally that guy who has zero experience, super young, just coming in. Never really like he played linebacker in college. Don't get me wrong, but he never really did in the NFL. And he just comes in 10 tackles. Okay.
Mhm.
And we know that NFL, fans are gonna freak out, like, oh, he got 10 tackles, Bobby Wagner, he's so good. Like KJ Britt isn't that, but what he does, like Mark was saying, like, he gets the
does
job.
his job.
Like, he does what he's supposed to do. You get your 10 tackles and then you move on. Maybe you force a fumble, like that's great. Like that's supposed to be the role. Devin White is a blitzer. Like that's just call spade a spade. He's a blitzer that just couldn't do those other aspects. And KJ Britt, you give him Devin White's athletic ability, then that's when sky's the limit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
KJ Britt does his job. He does what he's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Devin White had the ability to do more than what he is supposed to do, but he would overly think it and try to do more than he was supposed to do. And that's where he would mess himself up, mess everyone else up around him.
Well, conspiracy, isn't he the one with the green dot? Why was Levante never given the green dot?
Yeah, I don't know on that one.
I'm conspiracy. I'm not saying it's true. What do we hear Todd Bowles for the past 5 years? It's always been communication.
Yep.
There's one person with a microphone in their helmet.
Yeah,
that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, and it's magic that communication improved when KJ Britt was in there. So, and take that as what you will, but yeah, I
think it's more Devin's play, but I'm saying that could be an added bonus there if that is something that went on.
Right, absolutely. Now, Mark did say Peyton Wilson, and if the Buccaneers somehow get that dude, this guy right here will be the happiest man on earth. I will instantly buy his jersey. I might go streaking down Del Mabry. Who knows? No one probably.
I'll tell him to pull an Eli Manning. He's right up the street from me at NC State, so I'll definitely get in his ear for you, Plus.
Oh man, I appreciate that. We'll definitely try to get him on the show. He'll be a guest on here every week. I will make that happen.
I'll make the introduction to you too.
Awesome. Yeah. I would love Peyton Wilson.
No, I have a friend who played for NC State when Russ was here at the old company I used to work. And so he knows like all the NC State guys. So I'll see what I can do for you, Plus.
Oh man, that would be awesome. I hope he's a Buccaneer now.
Even if he doesn't get drafted by the Bucs, maybe he could be a guest. I know you guys sometimes have outside guests that I frequently remember the Max Brown episode. Mm-hmm. So you never know. What if you get some players on here?
Keep your pasty.
I agree, Killen. That is probably not a sight people want to see. So
it'll be a lunar eclipse going on. Big time.
Yeah, we don't need that. It would cause panic, and we don't need panic.
Another pandemic.
We would lose. Yeah, and I don't know if we would gain subscribers or lose them. So,
well, maybe you could start your OnlyFans.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I mean,
they
do make a lot of money.
Plus,
I just gave you $1 million idea.
You did.
Plus, just do it. You know what? Like any
sacrifice.
Publicity, just make sure you just run by Ray J. Let's see that. Let's see it.
All right. I'll make it happen. I'll put a GoPro on. I'll get somebody to camera it.
Jay will happily do it.
Oh,
he probably would.
He'd be doing it with you with the camera.
Oh man, that would probably get a lot of views. I could imagine.
Only Bucs fans.
Oh my goodness, we have went off the rails, but Peyton Wilson, yeah, he's my dude. But yeah, I mean, just the offseason so far has been a really solid one. I think. I don't know. Do we have anything else we want to touch on? Or are we going to wrap it up? I think we're at 125 minutes. We've had over 260 people in here. So thank you guys. Really appreciate the support. We're going to try to be on here. We're going to try to be on here regularly, week to week going forward. So a lot more to discuss, and we can, break into specific topics. So we kind of did an overview of everything tonight. So if you guys have anything specific you guys want to touch on for like a whole episode, we can definitely do that.
Krillin, I'll get you a subscription to that shortly.
Oh, plus you have a audience.
I'll get. I know our
Absolutely.
group chat. Plus, they talk about wrestling a bunch. There was a guy named Mr. Ass in the WWE for so long.
Oh yeah.
I'll get you for Halloween. I'll get you his outfit there.
Okay, that sounds good.
Les, gosh, you saw that with us. We weren't that young back then.
Oh yeah, I know.
It was the glory days. I haven't watched much in the past like 15 years, but like everyone in like our group chats just like huge into
No,
it.
I know who the guy is. I remember.
Okay, I'm making sure.
He was in D-Generation X, so I feel like you have to know him.
Yeah.
X-Pac.
Yeah. JC Allen, thank you, sir. Yeah, we're definitely going to get that bag. We're going to definitely do
it. He asked it in the damn press conference. I couldn't believe it. I turned it off immediately when I heard that. I go, forget this shit. I'll watch it later.
Wait, what happened?
He mentioned the bag during the press conference.
He hates this phrase.
No, to who?
He asked it during the press conference. I think he asked like, I think it was Baker. He's like, oh, since you got the bag or something.
Oh, yeah. He threw out the joke question, then he went to the real question.
I know you did, JC. I was like, God, it was like one of those like nails on a chalkboard. I was like, shit, he did it.
I just forgot about that.
And I had to turn it off and watch it later because I was like, it was one of those where you're listening during work.
What?
And then you heard it. I go, forget this shit. I just swiped up on my phone. I go, no, I'm not gonna listen to that.
And that's crazy though, considering that like Baker, he's going through all the stuff with his family and his financial stuff. So it's just like, I bet like he's just like, yeah, it's nice to kind of get some money. get at least the other life-changing contract I was supposed to have.
The bag. You could have seen. We talked about this. The Quan.
The Quan.
You got the Quan. Now
the Quan is great.
Forward. Like,
yeah.
Oh, the bag.
Yeah. Our RBT is all Quan. So
right. I mean, I think
only the money.
Bag of shit. That's what I'm thinking of. Like, I pick up like my dog's turds with a bag. That's what I'm thinking of, like a bag. Like, that's what I'm thinking. Come on, we've gone way off.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, this is awesome. This is awesome. I think that's going to do it for us.
I'd like to be part of one someday.
What? What's that?
Well, that's from The Office. I was like, an inside joke. I'd love to be part of one someday.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yep, for sure. Well, I think that's going to do it for us, guys. Remember to hit that like button. Comment down below your thoughts of this episode. Obviously, the last 20 minutes went off the rails, but it was a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, we're just super excited about this Bucs team right now. They're doing all the right things, and hopefully that continues throughout the offseason. But again, we appreciate all the support, all the people in here. Subscribe if you're new. We love, new subscribers. So, it helps support the channel. Hit that like button. But with that said, again, thank you to Ken. Thank you for joining us. We can't wait to have you back on for the draft shows that are coming up, obviously during draft week. And that should be always fun. And hopefully we have some awesome reactions like we did last year. So can't wait to
live on the pod. I got my PTO in, so we're good.
Yes, absolutely. So we're ready. But again, I think that's going to do it for us. Everyone have a great night. Go Bucs. And let's hope this awesome offseason continues. With that said, until the next one.
He's an ass.